Hello and welcome to another episode of a Brothers Creed podcast. We're talking about motivation, experiences, and we explore the world around us. We are the Thomas Brothers, and I'm Jared.
And I'm Ethan. And the credo that we'll be talking about today is authenticity. We're going to kind of go through some different reasons why it's important to be authentic, maybe share some stories of people that were authentic, some quotes, or maybe some people that weren't authentic and kind of the detriment that it potentially had. We're going to talk about why we feel it's important to add some authenticity into your personal creed and how it can help probably change your life and even maybe those around you as well. So let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
Most valuable commodity I know of is information.
And that, my friends, is called integrity. That's called courage. Now that's the stuff leaders should be made of.
Either you're somebody or you're nobody.
You're not the devil. You're practice.
So authenticity is, I think, something that's garnering a lot of, in our more modern era, a lot of people are this is getting a lot more awareness, I guess you could say. And I think that there's a lot of fakeness out there, or people project this this self that sometimes is not genuine. And I think that it's really easy sometimes to see through that. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes narcissists can really mask their crazy insides by being really charming and outgoing. But being authentic is such a critical thing, and the reason why that is, and I think this is something that absolutely should add to your creed. As I heard a quote, it was like, "Whatever you hook them with is what you're stuck with." So like, the person that you are, if you're trying to like get someone's attention, you're acting like some kind of crazy person, or you're acting like someone who's not yourself, that's what they're going to expect you to continue to be. So just be yourself. I love this one definition. It says authenticity is the degree to which your actions are congruent with your values and desires, despite external pressures to socially conform. And so it's when the way that you act is congruent with your values and your desires, which is right along with our mantra here with having that creed. So that creed that you have is your values and your desires, and the way that you act should be a reflection of your personal creed. That's what we're all about. And this is kind of where the rubber meets the road, where your creed meets the road of your actions. And then that's builds that character, right?
For sure. And what feels like is the complete opposite of what we see in social media today.
Yeah,
it's like
in some cases, yeah.
And I do feel like it's transitioning a little bit more. I feel like kind of the heyday of social media was maybe a little less authentic. But I almost feel like authenticity is something that's kind of becoming more popular. When, people are showing, the picture with and without the filters.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of just the picture of the filters. And you're like, oh man, that person's, that girl's so beautiful. I can never be beautiful as her. But, little do you know, she used this, filter that makes her, changes all her features and makes her look freaking amazing without a blemish at all. And then she showed, but I think nowadays it's a lot more acceptable to be like, oh, but this is the before and this is the after.
Yeah.
And so I think people are kind of catching on a little bit to that. And so social media was one thing that kind of had jumped out at me.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of attributed, and I was going to talk about this at the end, but I think I'll talk about it now.
Okay.
I do, I watch a lot of videos, like YouTube videos and stuff like that around kind of people in the health industry, and I've always really kind of been interested in bodybuilding and all sort of kind of stuff. And there's this one YouTuber, it's probably popular within the past several years, but he's kind of started a trend where he's a really big guy, really buff guy, and he goes around at these different like bodybuilding shows or conventions or whatever else, and he'll go to people that are just like obviously huge and what you would think would be on steroids. And he talks to him for a couple minutes or whatever, he's filming it, and then he goes, okay, well, here's the question, right? Are you natty or are you not? So he's asked, are you natural? Are you a natural bodybuilder, or are you not? Do you take steroids to enhance your performance and your muscles? And it's almost gotten to the point now, and he's so well known in the industry, where people are like, I knew that question was coming, right? And a lot more people are kind of open with this question now, and they say, yeah, I'm not natural. No, I'm not natural, and a lot of times they'll follow it up with kind of why they went from being natural to not natural. Or sometimes they'll say, he'll say, do you think that other people should do this too? And they'll say, well, I don't think you should do it unless you're at this and this and this and this point. Or they kind of maybe more open about it. It reminds me of, who Rich Piana is? So Rich Piana is this guy. He's a bodybuilder guy. He owned a brand, I think it was called 5%ers or something like that. And he was just massively huge. And he was very open about all of his steroid use and HGH and all this different kind of stuff. And he basically built this whole persona of being purely authentic. It was kind of like you said, it's like, a lot of these guys, they build this persona of, and then they just have to keep that up. Right. And it reminds me of, there's another guy named
Liver King did. That's what Liver King did. He built this whole thing
100%.
on eating liver. He's like, look how healthy I am.
100% natural. I get this by eating, frog testicles or whatever
raw
else.
liver, and then he's like taking what, like $20,000. How much was it? Like a month?
Oh yeah, it was like take $10,000 a month in performance enhancing drugs and steroids.
That's
and
the definition of unauthentic. I mean,
100%.
Who's gonna follow that kind of guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. But this Rich Piana guy, he's a bodybuilder or whatever, and he's always been purely authentic. This is what I take in. This is the doses. This is whatever. Like, this is, and he was even say, like, don't do it this way. Don't do it that way. And he would give, like, a lot of advice of, this is the bad parts of it, and this is whatever. So I always appreciated his authenticity. Now he died. In his
was he the one
40s,
that was he the one that's like, oh yeah, I just got the booster shot, and he had like 4 or 5.
I don't know.
Oh no, that was the other guy. That was the other guy, the one that had like that one thing on his chest. He was really famous for doing like the thing where he would put his arms out and he would move his fingers, and you could see every single fiber in his chest.
Oh yeah. He was like super cut. Yeah.
He had like some kind of like,
I can't remember that
body
guy's
fat
name,
thing.
yeah.
But he's the one that was like, oh yeah, I've got 3 shots and 4 boosters, and then he died.
Yeah.
Plus he was on steroids.
Which he said on a podcast that he regretted doing. He was like, I super felt pressured into doing it, but I just did it just because everyone else was doing it.
Yeah.
But regardless of that, there's one other guy. His name's Mike O'Hearn, and he is. And I'll put pictures up of some of these guys on YouTube if you want to go see him as we're talking about him. But Mike O'Hearn is this guy who's just freaking massive. There's like no human way that he could not be on steroids. But he's like in his 50s, and he is huge and ripped, and he stays that way year round. And his whole thing is, I'm natural. And nobody freaking believes that this guy's natural. But that's
like
just his,
like The Rock, right? The Rock claims to be natural.
Yeah, for sure. But that's his thing. He's natural, 100% natural, just meat and potatoes, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, there's no freaking way. And so, it just seems, I don't know, it's just not authentic. And
it's like when a politician tells you that they're not corrupt, and you know they are.
Oh, for real. And I think what it does too is not being authentic gives a false sense of hope to those around you.
Yeah. Like
that guy who's saying, I'm all natural, I got this body like this just by, spending hours in the gym. Yeah. It's like, yeah, you can get a good body by spending hours in the gym, but you're not going to get that body. And so it sets this like false hope of of trust, of capabilities. And the other story I had kind of goes along with that, that I'll share in a couple of minutes. But that's just something, a couple of my thoughts on
Yeah.
authenticity in social media.
I think it boils down to vulnerability. Without vulnerability, authenticity becomes impossible. And I think that you'll see that with everything. If people trying to put on this persona that they're just better than everybody else, or that, oh, I don't need drugs to do this, but they really are taking drugs, or a myriad of other things. Authenticity and being genuine with people comes from vulnerability. It doesn't mean you have to be weak, but when you show that you have that you're human and you express this vulnerability, then people actually gravitate more towards you because they say, hey, this guy's someone I can trust. This is someone who admits he's not perfect. I mean, who wants to be like with someone or work with someone who's like, I'm perfect, I never make mistakes? Yeah, right, man. Give me a break, you know? So
Yeah.
being authentic and just saying, hey, this is what I am. I'm not perfect, but these are some of my strengths, and I'm always open to hearing new opinions or new ideas. So there's a story that I wanted to tell that kind of expresses a little bit of the sentiment of this authenticity. There's a great story about Winston Churchill when he met with a flight sergeant who was being honored for bravery during World War II. The sergeant had the courage to climb out onto the wing of his bomber plane at 13,000 feet to extinguish a fire in the starboard engine. But when he met Winston Churchill in person, he got really nervous. He became scared. He became tongue-tied. Churchill noticed this, and he said to him, "You must feel very humble and awkward in my presence." And the flight sergeant agreed. And then Churchill said, "Then you can imagine how humble and awkward I feel in yours." So kind of a cool story, how he's just being authentic. He's like realizing this is a situation. He's like, hey, yeah, I know, you probably feel nervous around me, but I actually feel nervous around you because you're this war hero that did something that's just amazing, and I'm just a politician, So I think that's kind of cool, and it's like really just basism in this authentic way that is really relatable, and it just attracts people, it draws people in when you become that authentic. Now, I will warn that I know that Winston Churchill was a politician, and oftentimes politicians will try to do this. So might be something to work out. There's fake authenticity, like when Joe Biden was saying, "Oh yeah," to the people whose houses got burned down in Maui, and he's like, "One time my house burned down, and I was there watching the firefighters put it out." And it's like, dude, your house didn't almost burn down. It was a small kitchen fire, and you were in D.C. Like, he like makes up these stories to try to be authentic, but they're all fake. And so
to try to relate to people,
that backfires. I mean, or he makes up what colleges he went to, or he makes up.
Well, I wouldn't say any of it backfires because it never gets any traction. It's all freaking lies, but it never gets traction. But
yeah, well, whatever. I think in their
but I agree with you about the authenticity part.
So,
it'll come back to bite him sometime.
Yeah, it just doesn't look. It's not genuine, and people will notice that, and that's not the kind of person that you want to be.
Yeah. One of the first things when I thought authenticity, and I'm going to kind of stay on this theme of maybe sports and health and fitness and stuff like that. But one of the first things that came to me, the first stories for authenticity is Lance Armstrong. It was just like, for those of you who don't know, Lance Armstrong is an American professional cyclist. He had tons of awesome achievements in the sport of cycling, and he had testicular cancer as well. And so he fought that during this process, but he won the Tour de France race, which is like the biggest cycling race in the world, I guess, 7 consecutive times, which is crazy. And for years, Armstrong denied any allegations that he was using performance enhancing drugs to gain some sort of unfair advantage. He maintained this in interviews, and he went through legal battles and defamation battles, and he even swore under oath that he has never taken any of these drugs or anything else. And he attacked anyone like hardcore. He went after them if they accused him of doping. And that's other cyclists or journalists or officials in the sport. He would attack them and try to destroy their career if they said that he was doping or he was taking performance enhancing drugs. And so, I mean, that was years and years and years. So in 2012, eventually the lies began to unravel, and it came out that he was taking performance enhancing drugs. He was on steroids and other PEDs that were assisting him to recover quicker, to become stronger, to have better endurance, to, 1, 2, 3 and ABC. So they ended up stripping him of all 7 of his Tour de France titles. They banned him from professional cycling for life. And they, I guess, like the point at which all this broke was during this Oprah Winfrey interview in 2013, where he admitted, live that he was that he admitted to doping and all this different kind of stuff. So I don't know. It just seemed like, you remember those like Live Strong bracelets and like all this other kind of stuff. And it was like, everything was Lance Armstrong. He was on the cover of every magazine and every commercial and everything else. And it's so disappointing. And to be completely honest, I don't care that he's doping or not. I mean, I don't understand why they don't just.
Well, you weren't second at the Tour de France.
I'm just saying. For me, I don't understand why they even put regulations on it at all. Just let anyone who wants to dope, and if you, I don't know, if you can hang, then you can hang. I don't know, but whatever. That's a whole different conversation. But it seemed authentic at the time. This is me, and this is everything else in my life, but really it was all a freaking lie, and it was all a deception that was just really led to a couple different things for him. Yes, like severe personal and professional negative consequences and tarnished reputation, and he had legal repercussions and fines he had to pay and loss of public trust. But I mean, screw all that stuff. He deserved all that stuff that he got. I kind of go back with what you were saying. What about all those guys that came in second and that didn't win?
Yeah.
And, all of the publicity and the fame that he got from, how much do you think Oprah Winfrey paid him to come on to say, yeah, I was doping, and be the first person to break that? I bet you she paid him millions of dollars to come do that.
Yeah.
So it's just that's not authentic. That's not genuine. It's just you literally have built your life around this entire lie, and you try to go to the grave with it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But
yeah,
the last thing that I had on being authentic was just some of the important reasons why it is important to be authentic. And we don't have to get into all, these in depth, but one was it builds genuine relationships, because authenticity fosters genuine connections with others and trust. Self-respect. How do you think Lance Armstrong felt whenever he was, went to bed at night? Do you think he battled with his internal self to say, like, I am literally lying about everything in my life? I mean, I don't know. Maybe he looked over at the wall and saw all of his trophies and was like, it's not that big a deal. Or maybe
I think that was his mentality, because I remember, or
maybe
it
ate him up. I don't know.
I remember him, like, somebody talking about like doping or something like that, and someone was like dogging on him, and he just like tweeted out like a picture of all of his trophies on the wall. And that was it. And so I think that's his mentality, but it's a shame.
So maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I think it it can affect your self-respect, and maybe not for him, but for other people if you're not authentic. your emotional well-being. It can weigh on you if you're trying to be somebody you're not.
Mm-hmm.
It can affect your confidence, honesty, and trust from others. And just your overall personal growth. So I think it's important to be authentic, right? Don't be so authentic to the point of, I think it can go to an extreme, and I got to be careful saying this, but I think it can potentially lead to showing signs of weakness if you're too authentic, right? I think some things should be maybe
Well, I think you have
kept
to remember,
personally.
yeah, I think, but you have to remember, like, being authentic means acting in a way that's congruent with your values. So,
Yeah.
if you value something and that's an attribute that you value, then acting in a way that's congruent with that, that's not weakness.
I guess I was kind of comparing it to how you had said it's kind of kin to vulnerability a little bit.
Well, you have to be vulnerable in a way to be authentic. Yeah, like, because yeah, I agree. I see what you're saying with that.
So sometimes it's good to pump the brakes a little bit,
But you can
and
sometimes,
not give away the whole tea. But
yeah, sometimes it's just like, I mean, I can't authentically share my opinion on every single thing that happens at work because I would probably
not?
get fired, you know?
Why not?
It's like, you know what I think of that? I think this is absolute, so
Yeah.
sometimes you just got to choose your battles. Which is one of my virtues. I think that that's discernment is one of my virtues. So I think
There
that
you go.
I'm authentic to the virtue of discernment, where you have to choose on the items to really stand up for, or you have to kind of let just some stuff just roll off your back, because you can't be putting up battles for every single little thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in general it's good. I think being authentic can build confidence in your own life, but I think it could also inspire others. And I think that's an important reason why Jared and myself are going to apply some authenticity to. I feel like we're pretty authentic on the podcast.
I think so. Yeah, I don't think we have. There's no illusion that we're perfect, but I think we're authentic in the sense that we want to build these attributes.
Yep.
We want to further improve ourselves, and that's what we are. We're pretty open. I mean, we want. I want to reflect. I want my actions to reflect the things that I value, and sometimes I fall short of that. Sometimes I hit it right on. So
Nail it. Yeah.
just that's how it
Well,
goes.
being authentic is very important to your own personal creed. Hopefully you can take some of the things, some of the stories and ideas that we've talked about today and apply them to your own personal creed and become better and better every day. So hopefully you can do that and build your creed with us.
Let's do it.